The National Neonatology Forum of India has come up with guidelines on the use of therapeutic hypothermia in neonatal HIE in October 2021, and this video is based on the same. So before moving on to the guidelines per se, we must have a brief idea as to what is therapeutic hypothermia. Basically, it is a treatment modality used in the management of hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy in neonates. In this, infants more than equal to 36 weeks or sometimes even up to 35 weeks as per some studies, this gestational age are eligible for the modality of therapeutic hypothermia. Cooling is not at all recommended below 35 weeks of gestational age. Moderate to severe HIE is the basic eligibility criterion, that is, mild encephalopathy patients are not eligible. Passive cooling should be started as early as possible, ideally in less than 6 hours of life. Core body temperature, which is the rectal temperature we monitor, should be maintained between 33 to 34 degrees centigrade for 72 hours during active cooling. Active cooling is the process of therapeutic hypothermia, and this is followed by a period of passive rewarming of 6 to 12 hours and maybe up to 15 hours. Passive cooling implies switching off the warmer or transport heater and using only a thin bedsheet to wrap around the baby, also keeping the child near orally. So in between these periods of passive cooling and passive rewarming, we cool the neonate's body to a target core temperature using certain devices which we shall see later, and this process is referred to as therapeutic hypothermia. Actually, decreased body temperature slows down infant's metabolism, thus permitting time for recovery of the neuronal damage and preventing further penumbral damage in the neonate's brain, and this is the rationale of providing therapeutic hypothermia. During the process of therapeutic hypothermia, antiepileptic medications should be continued whenever clinical or electroencephalographic seizures are present. Actually, neurological monitoring with amplitude integrated EEG and near infrared spectroscopy, that is NIRS, should be done preferably throughout. The serum electrolytes and blood glucose should be maintained within normal ranges, as also the metabolic profile, that is hypo or hypercarbia should be avoided, hyperoxia should be avoided, etc. So one needs to do a baseline arterial blood gas, complete blood count, serum electrolytes and biochemistry, along with sepsis markers and cultures before putting the child on therapeutic hypothermia. A brain MRI is advised shortly after rewarming, or maybe even after 10 days where clinical findings do not correlate with the initial MRI picture. A detailed neurodevelopmental follow-up is recommended thereafter. So after studying the various randomized controlled trials, meta-analysis and systematic reviews, the NNF working group drew certain conclusions. As therapeutic hypothermia is likely to decrease death or severe disability and cerebral palsy at 18 to 24 months of age in infants with HIE, there is a significant benefit in favor of therapeutic hypothermia on mortality before discharge in infants with moderate to severe HIE with cord blood pH less than 7.0. There is uncertain benefit of therapeutic hypothermia in neonates with hypothermia at admission itself, and an unclear evidence of severe intrapartum asphyxia. Also, possible effects of ethnicity, biological factors, and differences in intrauterine exposures on outcomes of neonates with moderate to severe HIE need further investigation. So, on the basis of these conclusions, the NNF working group has come up with 4 major guidelines. The first is that a level 3 or a 4 NICU is recommended for providing therapeutic hypothermia. That is an NICU which has an expertise to recognize and resources to manage therapeutic hypothermia during acute care in the ICU as well as during follow-up. There should be an access to bedside ultrasound, CT, MRI and EEG. The nurse to patient ratio should be kept as 1:1 or maximum 1:2 for a better bedside clinical monitoring, and the unit must be capable of providing therapeutic hypothermia for at least 18 months. So, neonates with HIE with gestational age more than equal to 36 weeks, as early as possible and maximum within 6 hours of life, and with an admission temperature of 36 to 37.4 degrees centigrade are eligible for therapeutic hypothermia if they fulfill all of the following 2 criteria. The first criteria is pH less than 7 or base deficit more than 16 on cord or arterial blood gas done within 1 hour of life, and CAR scored less than 5 at 10 minutes, or at least 10 minutes of positive pressure ventilation, and a history of acute perinatal event such as but not limited to placental abruption, uterine rupture, or cord prolapse. And the second criterion is evidence of moderate to severe encephalopathy. So, prior to initiating therapeutic hypothermia, one must obtain a written informed consent from parents or legal guardians, and one must ensure that the neonate's cardiorespiratory status is stable. Therapeutic hypothermia may be deferred if during preparation for cooling, the neonate's encephalopathy has improved. That is, it has become mild or normal. Now, who are the neonates which should not be considered for therapeutic hypothermia even if they have moderate to severe encephalopathy? And these are moribund, those having major congenital or genetic abnormalities, those with severe IUGR, severe coagulopathy, and severe head trauma or intracranial hemorrhage. The preferred method of providing therapeutic hypothermia is servo-controlled cooling devices, that is head cooling or body cooling, in preference to non-servo controlled devices, that is ice gels and phase change material devices. Servo control is actually a feedback system which functions as a thermostat to maintain a constant temperature at the site of a probe by regulating the heat output. Having 1:1 nurse to patient ratio is very important if at all non-servo control devices are being used. This is obviously done for better monitoring and maintenance of temperature, and also to enable them to take immediate corrective steps in case the temperature is not within the target range. What is essential to remember apart from these guidelines is that amplitude integrated EEG is not a must to start therapeutic hypothermia, but it has a significant value, especially in neonates with non-conclusive examination or those on sedatives and paralytic agents. The presence of discontinuous low voltage burst suppression of flat EEG would fulfill criteria for encephalopathy and might warrant starting therapeutic hypothermia in neonates having these findings. And also, infants with sudden collapse in the ward can be considered for therapeutic hypothermia on a case to case basis. Thank you so much for a patient watching and listening, and please do share the knowledge. Thank you.